secret in their eyes. So I wasn't exactly excited for this movie. I thought it would be whatever, but I decided to watch it. Nicole Kidman and Julia Roberts and the guy from 12 Years a Slave, whose name I cannot pronounce and you cannot make me. So the story is they're cops. Nicole Kidman is like assistant DA, I think, or something like that. He's a cop, and Julia Roberts is a cop, and Julia Roberts' daughter gets brutally raped and murdered, and they have a suspect, but they have nothing on him. And as soon as they get evidence against him, it turns out that he is actually an informant for the police. This is right after 9/11, and everyone is freaking out over terrorism. So the police and the FBI are putting all their resources in combating terrorism. So they are overlooking the fact that this guy clearly killed this girl because he's an informant and he can get into some terrorist groups. So that's where the conflict begins. You know, the FBI and the police are clearly protecting this guy just because he can get a few terrorists, even though he killed this girl. And so it's like, what's more important? Terrorism or the murder? They have to let him go, and 13 years later, the guy from 12 Years a Slave comes back, and he's like, I found him, and let's fucking get him. And he wants to open the case, and, you know, different options come up, like, let's go see him, let's go kill him, let's go do this, do that, you know. And basically, it goes back and forth between the present day and 13 years ago, trying to get the guy. And I was into it. I was really into it. I liked how it was going. I liked the pacing. I liked the story. The way, you know, they were trying to get him, and the way they were trying to, you know, investigate and everything. It was very interesting. But then it got more and more ridiculous by the end of it. And the big twist, I fucking called it. It wasn't a surprise to me. I don't know if you're supposed to call it or not, but I feel like there was no impact for me. It was supposed to be like this big moment, like, oh my god, the reveal, and it was like, it was building up, and I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I sort of saw that coming, so yeah, I wish they had spent more time with the killer. He was a very interesting character, and he's sort of kind of there. I feel like they could have used him a lot more, because he was quite menacing. He looked like such a scrawny little kid, but then he was fucking crazy, and you can tell. And I wish they had spent more time with him, because he was interesting. Instead, they spent a lot of time between, like, the romance between the guy and Nicole Kidman, and it's like, I don't give a shit about that. Like, I get it, they have history, they liked each other, but she's married, and she was engaged 13 years ago, she's married now, like, get over it. And I really didn't give a shit about the romance. I wanted to get into the story. So yeah, I would have enjoyed this a lot more if it actually had used the villain in this movie a lot more, the actual killer. You know, I wish they had used him a lot more, and I wish that the twist was actually more impactful, more powerful, because as I was watching it, I thought, you know, a few options of where this movie could go. And I thought of a few directions and a few plot twists, and I called it. It wasn't surprising to me. When it was like the last sort of third of the movie, like the last act of the movie, I started thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, that's gonna happen. That's totally gonna happen. And it happened. And maybe it's my fault for thinking about it. Maybe I shouldn't be thinking about it in the movie. But as soon as certain scenes happen, you know, in the movie, when certain things are mentioned, you sort of automatically think about things. You do it subconsciously, like, oh, maybe this can happen. And then it's kind of disappointing when it actually happens. And I guess that's not the movie maker's fault, but I wish it was an actual twist for me. It wasn't. and kept getting more and more ridiculous, honestly, towards the end, and I just wasn't buying it anymore. I wasn't having it. I was really into it for the first, like, 2/3 of it, and then at the end I was just like, who cares? And the ending was, who cares? I really didn't care at all by the end of it, so, yeah, the acting was really good. Julia Roberts was not that great, actually. She felt off to me. I don't know. They made her look really old for this, which I guess is her character or whatever, but her acting was very bizarre. It was, something was off about it. I have no idea what, but something was off. The main guy was really good. Nicole Kidman was good also, but yeah, mainly it's like the main cops movie. Basically, he's sort of the guy that comes back and it's like, let's fucking do this. You know, I found him. Let's do something about it. And, you know, you sort of watch and you think this might happen, that might happen, and you sort of have things in your head that you wish will happen. And maybe you call the twist like I did, but yeah, it was interesting. It's one of those, I call them Oscar bait movies, where they're good movies, they're well-made movies, but it's like, I don't want to fucking watch this anymore. Like, I'm not watching War Horse, I'm not watching The King's Speech. I know they're good movies, they're solid movies, I'm not watching that. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I didn't watch 12 Years a Slave, I'm not gonna watch that. I don't like those Oscar bait movies where it's like, it's the Oscars and we have to go there. I don't know if this qualifies as that, but it definitely wants to. I don't think it will qualify as an Oscar bait movie, but it's trying so fucking hard to be one of those, and I'm not having it. I'm just not having it.
My daughter was the thing that made me me.
I'm gonna get him, no matter what it takes.
Your killer knew enough to destroy all the DNA evidence.
You don't give up.
This is the guy.
We've had multiple leads.
All of them have been false alarms. He can quit his job. He can change his name. He can dump his car. I will still find him.
Let's kill him.
Death would be too good for this guy. Justice. I owe my daughter that.
I found him.